Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial. So today we're going to be looking at how you can integrate React query into your next application. React query is a powerful combination with Next.js with the uh easy routing of Next.js combined with the easy data fetching principles of React query makes your application easy. And React query simplifies data fetching, caching, and also synchronizes server data in your application. So basically, it's more like a state management, although it's not a state management tool. So it's just a tool for uh, calling endpoints, but with much superpowers implemented. So it's like your Superman on steroids. Imagine putting Superman on steroids. That's exactly how the React query is. So let's get into it and let us implement our project. So here we want to create our application. So I'm going to press enter, initializing the Next.js application. So I'm just going to say yes to everything ex- except this double pack import alias. So we're using Tailwind and TypeScript. So we'll be back when it's finished installing. Okay, so our application has done installing. Um, what we also gonna see the next React Query. Want to install React Query. I will wait for it. Gonna start setting up fourth application. This is the fourth application for Next.js, the default home page. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder. I like to put all my wrappers in a separate file that I can easily access them. So we're going to have a component folder. We're also going to have a hook folder. We're also going to have a wrapper folders or provider folders. Let's make it a provider folder. So inside our app, we're going to create a folder called providers. So create a new file there, and inside the file we're going to call it React Query Provider. Let's React Query Provider. You can also call it wrapper if you want. ESX. Okay, so our React Query has done installing. I'm gonna minimize this. Full screen this. So I'm just gonna do this. And let's implement the React query. So to do that, first of all, we need to import React query. So we create our provider, our query client, const query client equals to new query client, which is imported from React query. So having done that, we need to wrap our application query client provider. So that also will be imported. Query client provider. And I'm going to pass children into this. So we're going to, here we're going to pass in the children. And since we are using TypeScript, we need to clear our types. That query provider props. So here we need to pass in the client, the query client. Query client we initialized here and passing the children here. Don't know why I'm having errors here. I'm not finding the name. I think I misspelled it. Okay, I've not created this interface. Let's create the interface. Copy. Be a React node. Let me format my document. So you can see this is our provider, and this is what we need to wrap around our application. So I'm just going to create another folder. Let's create an API, simulate backend. As in we have API folder here. We have a user's endpoint. So, and I'm going to create the routes. So if you don't know about Next.js API routes, and check my tutorials on that, or you check the documentation. So it's virtually a node environment for Next.js, and which you can do anything like in your backend. So you can have your backend codes in the API folder, and if you are building a full stack application, you don't need to create a external API or external server. All your server code can be in the APIs. You can run everything in the APIs. So here we're going to create a endpoint, a user's endpoint, where users can fetch data and fetch the users just to simulate, and so that you can see how to use React query to fetch data. So I'm just going to export here, export a function, a get function, since we are creating a get route, get async function get, then const users. Let's just create a temporary array just for this sake of this tutorial, which will return as our data from the server. We have ID 1, and the name, call it John. Leave it like that. So this should be string. I'm just going to duplicate this code. 1, 2, 3. Give them different name. We have Bob here. We have Charlie here. So we want to return this as a response. So next response JSON. Yes. So we need to import this. We have that already. So this endpoint will work within this application. So basically, now we have the provider. We also have our endpoint. So we all need a route to test this React query implementation. So this provider, now we need to wrap it around our layout so that it will be available around our application, and we'll be able to use React query throughout our application. So you come here into your layout file and you import the React query provider. So I'm just going to copy this. Then you go to your layout here. But before that, let's run this application. And dev. We're on port 3001. Let's test that out. Okay, so our app is working. I don't know. This error has always been showing up since React 14 hydration error. You notice we've not yet imported anything in the root layout. So this is from Next.js. This specific version seems to be problematic when it comes to hydration error. I want to check the version 15. The one that is a new version, it's the latest version. So, but there's a way we can fix that. So, but we're going to fix it now. But let's continue with our application. We need to wrap this around our layout. So you can wrap it around whatever layout you have. If you know Next.js, you know you can have different layout for different root structure. For example, I can have dashboard. I have slash dashboard slash home slash users slash dashboard slash users. So I might just want it to be available for dashboard. In that case, you wrap it around the dashboard implementation. For here, we are wrapping it around our application, our root layout. It's going to be available throughout our application. So I can save that. So we are getting an error. Let's refresh that. Only plain text can be plus. Okay, so basically, this is a client component. Since we are using React query is only available on the side, on the client. So we add the use client. Let's see if this will solve the error. Yes, the error is gone. So it's now available. But let's fix this error. This hydration error. We're going to suppress the error. So you can fix it by suppressing it. You just go to your layout, and on the body, add this suppress hydration. Suppress hydration warning. So this should keep the hydration warning away. Good. So React query is now available, and we can start using it in our application. So let's create a user layout. So I'm going to just uh put here. Let's see. Let's create a user file. Yes. Then create a page here. Yes. So I'm just going to paste the HTML. This is not a design tutorial. Why is this? Move this for the meantime. So basically, here we just have a div here that centers the main screen. Another div, then each one for the user list. This is where we'll display the users. We're going to use React query display the user. Let's go to the page. Yes. Let's ensure that everything is working. Yes, so we have the user list. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use React query, display it, and to display the users. So there are many ways you can use React query. So I'm going to show you one method which is not common, but it is a makes your app more modular. We're going to put all our React query in a folder called hooks. So here we're going to create a new folder, call it hooks. And then we want to create for the user, call it users hooks, or use users dot tsx, sorry, dot ts. This is just a JavaScript. I see TypeScript. So here in users, want to export a function, the function that will help us to fetch users, which will use the use query. We're gonna create the function first. Let's say const fetch users is equals to async let's set the type promise users or a user array. And we need to define the user type. So I'm just going to put that above here. Let's export it because we'll need it later. So let's continue with our function. In our function, we want to fetch the user. Const response equals to await fetch. We're going to use fetch since we are using internal API. Can also use Axios, but let's use fetch. We're going to fetch API users. Remember, we created the API users endpoint initially. So, and then we say here if response. I don't like throwing an error here. I like catching the error in the component. We're not going to put anything. We're just going to return the response. Return the response .json. So this is our fetch user. Then we now need to implement the React query to use the function. So we export the function and use user. Use users. And here we return use query, which returns type user. user array. This is how you use query. So we're going to import use query from tan stack, which is the package for use query. Yeah. So we need to pass in. If you look at it, click on this now, you see it accept a data. If a type that is going to return, then the error uh query function. These are the what is expected by use query. And you can also see the options. See it here. You can see all the things that is expecting. This function is expecting. You can see it in this bracket. So the first thing we need to pass in. Is the name of the query. What we'll use to track this query. So this is use query, and if you hover over it, you see what it's expecting as parameters. So, but for now, we are going to pass in the query key and the query function. So basically, what it does is it tracks each query with the query key, so that you can enable caching if you want, and it will track it with the key, and functions like that. So let's give it a query key. Our query key going to be, let's call it users. And then pass in a query function. So our query function is going to be the function we declared up there, which is fetch user. Fetch user. So if you want to pass other things, you can just over it if you're using TypeScript, and you can see, all that is expecting. If you want to really check, you can click on control and click on use query. You'll see the TypeScript declaration, and see it here. And see the TypeScript declaration. Yeah. So these options are what you pass into it, and decide to check what these options are. These are what is stated here. See data, the query key, error function, query function data, which is what we passed there. So, but this tutorial is not about TypeScript. So basically, now we have created our React query to fetch the users. But how do we use it? Let's see how we use it in our user function. Our user component. So back to our user component here. This is where we need to import it, and then use it to display the users. Basically, that's what we need to do. So basically, let's continue by importing it in. So you import the use data. First of all, we extract our data from it, and its loading state. So that's what React query does for you. Already implements is loading, is error, everything is implemented. All you just need to do is, you know, structure it out of it and display it in your component. We're also going to, there's is error. Let me import the use user so that you can see use users. Okay. When you come here, you can see the TypeScript declaration there. There is a boolean. It is a boolean. You can see the data is user is picking the type is a user array. So all these things are already implemented for you. So you don't need to implement them yourself. Let's export the errors also. So you can see here all other things you can also import the structure from it. Error update count, error update at, is loading error. So I'll just import the error. If you want to see all, you can just press on Control Spacebar. You see everything you can destructure is fetched, fetch status, failure reasons, it's fetching, it's loading error, it's pause, it's pending. You can see all these box here signifies, that something you can import, that already has the type inputted. These other ones are from VS Code. So that is that about that. So now that we have that, we can think of displaying the data. So to display the data, let's display it inside this UL. What we want to do is check the data. You can do anything you like with your data. So we're first going to check to make sure we have the data. And since we know that the type of our data is an array, we can just map through. I'm just going to do this and then do data dot map. So I'm going to change this to user of type user. It imported the user from the user hook that we created. In here, we're going to have an li passing the key as the ID. User.id. And then here, let's just have the username, user.name. We still have an error. I'm going to fix that in a minute. So to fix that, you just come here, click on this. Let's create the other. No, not there. Right here. We need one more closing there. Then it is not there's no data, we want to return no users found. So let's style this a little bit. I'm just going to paste it tailwind styling, make it look all. Make it look better. So you see we are having the error attempting to call use query from the server. So remember I told you that React query is a client side package. So it only runs on the client side. It's like use effect. I only use it on the client side. So we have to make this component a use client, a client component by putting use client on top. Let's now see the result of that. So you can see we have our users here. And that's how easy it is to use React query. So I hope you've learned one or two things from this tutorial. So then the next thing I would like to show you also is you can also use these errors or is loading to do a conditional loading. For example, I can say if it's loading, I want it to return loading user. I want it to return this. What is, sorry, uh yeah, something like this. I'll also do that for the error. Display the error message for the users. So if you have an error, you can display something like this to show the message. But usually I don't like doing this because for some reasons. I prefer using toast to handle the error messages as long as it is not a form error. So one more thing, because we are using React query, we should undo our errors inside the hooks. So therefore, we need to put this in a try catch, so that it doesn't go through an error in your component. So try catch. Let's move this into a try catch. And then we say, okay, if error, we can throw an error. Or instead of using, okay, let's this. So you can throw an error here. Like there's an extension that is grabbing Control C on my editor. So you can just throw a new error, or you can do some other things here to determine the error message and display the error message instead through the error. And you can also use tools if you are using toast. Implement a toast, you can handle it here. and just put the toast to toast and show the error to the user. But we'll just leave it like this for now. So we can also simulate an error here, but I don't think we need to do that. The error in our use. So you can see I've moved the error above the response. Let's throw an error to simulate, and let's see what happens in our application. So you can see the loading user here. It's loading user, trying to load the user, and then you can see the error message being shown. You can see. So that's how you work with React query. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Kindly like and subscribe. More tutorials like this. If you really want to go deep into use query, you can check my other tutorials on it. Also, if you are looking for authentication, how to implement authentication and authorization with use query without needing to use a state management tool like Redux, you can check my tutorials on the screen also. So see you next time. Have a wonderful day.